And I'm back home. Woke up early this morning. I had to go change my tires, so I changed it from my summer to my winters. My summers were done, so I had to throw them out. And what else? So I shared some stuff in my stories today and some questions for you. And I'm laughing because I think this is so funny. Like, it's just like, I love seeing the same pattern happening, like, for everybody. And so most of you answer the first question, and then the other set of questions, absolute crickets. It's like tumbleweed, just like kind of came through. And I'm like, so the questions were all around control and planning. And so, okay, so for me, the way I kind of see it, I'm like, all right, I planted the seed. Maybe you guys aren't ready to talk about it. Maybe it's not something you're open to. That's totally cool. It's all good. What I am going to share with you is a little story. So back, it's been over like 6 years. So over 6 years ago. So my whole life up until like 6 years ago is when I really started like my journey on this path of releasing control and tapping into the unknown. I was a planner. I planned everything. I planned my trips to the T. Like every time like I had a trip to do, the hostels, the transportation, everything was booked through and through. I had, goals, what goals I wanted to achieve in life. I've had 5-year goals, 10-year goals. I would make a list of them. I would write down all the steps that need to happen to get there. It was very much a complete like masculine energy of like, okay, this is what I want to do. How do I get there? Here are all the steps I get there. And now I'm going to check mark each box of these steps that I do. And then I do it and I get it done. And that's how my life was. Like I planned everything. Everything needed to have a plan. I needed to know where I was going, what I was doing. I had my agenda filled with friends that I was hanging out with, who I was hanging out with, at what day, at what time, what I was doing, when was I working, when was an event that I wanted to go to, like what day, what time, who was I going with, all that. Like I legit planned my entire life through and through. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. It's just that what I've realized throughout my journey and what the universe has shown me is that controlling and planning life through and through is an illusion. It's an illusion. And the reason how I realized this was that, the first big, moment in my life, which was 6 years ago, where I basically, me and my old partner ended our relationship, and I didn't see it coming. I felt that the rug got pulled underneath me. I had this plan of, our lives and where we're going to go and what we're going to do. And then all of a sudden that was gone. That was completely gone. And that's when I realized that planning things, especially things that are so far in advance, or trying to control the future, control every little aspect of life, is an illusion. But I couldn't go right away from being such a rigid planner and controlling everything to completely letting it go and not control nothing and plan absolutely nothing. I couldn't just do it like right off the back. And so I started slowly. It was slowly, and it was like events that allowed me to do it at a pace that felt comfortable to me. And more lessons came through, and through each lesson, I released the steering wheel a little bit more. I let it go a little bit more. I trusted in the universe a little bit more. I surrendered a little bit more. And so it didn't happen overnight. It really didn't. And I guess like where I really went and jumped and said, okay, instead of planning my entire life, I started just like the first plan was, okay, so I'm going to take 2 years in Montreal, save all my money, and move out to BC. And so the first step was, I don't know where I'm moving. I don't know where in BC I'm going to live. I'm going to go place to place and figure it out. And so that was the first step of me releasing control, is like trusting, instead of trying to do all the research and all the homework before going to BC of like which place I would ideally like. I just didn't do any of that. And I just trusted. I wrote out a few towns and cities that I would like to visit, and I just went to each one. So that was like one step of like releasing the steering wheel. And then the other step was the actual trip itself. So instead of planning the whole trip in advance, which is something I've done before, is I would only plan about 2 weeks or so in advance, sometimes even a week. I really let things unfold last minute. I really trusted that, you know what, no matter what, I can sleep in my car and I know I'll be safe. I knew that, sleeping at Walmart parking lots was a thing. And, I knew that even if that was the case, like I still had money that I probably find a hotel room to stay in. And throughout that trip, as last minute as I planned it, I actually never ended up sleeping in my car and always found a place to sleep. So that was the first steps of me releasing control. They were big steps, but they were the ones that I was able to at that time. And then throughout the years, as I said, things started happening. And now where I'm at is I'm almost in this place of, so I have goals now. Don't get me wrong, I have goals. I have things that I desire, for my business, for my life, but I don't set time frames anymore. I've released time completely because time is an illusion and it's not real. Because time doesn't exist. And so I've released that, as to when things will happen or how they would happen. I've released that as well. And I'm at a place where, yes, there's certain things that I notice myself sometimes controlling. And usually the way I know that I'm controlling something is if I am calculating or planning things out in my head. And so that's one way I know I'm controlling something, or if something happens and it gives me anxiety. Like the initial reaction gives me anxiety, and then I'm like, okay, why am I anxious and why did that make me nervous? So for example, like today, I brought in my car to do the tires, and then I did a brake inspection, and they quoted me one amount on the phone. And so I expected I was going to pay that amount. And then when I get there, it was slightly more, not by much, but slightly more. And basically my chest was like, and it was the idea of like, the controlling around the money. And I know that is something that I am working on, and something that I am learning slowly to decondition, because that is something I've always controlled in the past, was my money. And so that is when I know that I still have a hold on the steering wheel when it comes to the money, and not fully being able to release it and allow it to come and go as money pleases, and knowing that I am infinitely abundant. And so I recognize that initial jerk reaction within myself. And so obviously I'm going to be journaling on it later on today and seeing what comes up, because this seems to be a reoccurring theme. And yeah, so that is where I'm at in my journey of tapping into the unknown, releasing control, letting go of all the planning. And that is what I have been learning. And so if you aren't there yet to release control, or if that's something you don't want to do, that's okay. You don't have to. But if there's something in you that says that is curious, something in you that is intrigued, or you're like, wait a second, what would that look like? What would that feel like, and what would that look like? And what would it look like that if you knew everything and anything is possible, if you knew that you can have the life you desire, if you knew that your dreams can come true, if you knew that, the universe, like, will surprise you in mind-blowing ways, and the nugget was to release control of your life, would you? So it's just something to think about. And listen to your body. Listen to your body when I'm speaking, and what and how it's feeling. And what is coming up for you. What feelings and emotions are coming up for you as I'm talking. Because your body is basically the one that knows. It knows. And you know yourself. You know that if control is something that you are meant to release, you know it. Maybe you're not ready to do it just yet, and that's okay. Or maybe you're meant to just take baby steps, and that's cool too. But you know. And so that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed this live, and I'll speak to you all tomorrow.